Curt, good morning. Good to see you again. Um, just wanted to talk to you, if I could, about the ramifications from the league's announcement concerning Dearica. We've obviously heard from her, we've heard from the league, and we've heard from the Aces, who seem to say, and I'm quoting, the facts did not demonstrate that the Aces violated the salary cap or did anything wrong, presumably. And I'm just wondering what your impression on all of this is, as a league observer.
Hi, Howard. Good to see you as always. My angle on all of this is the support we have for Dearica. She has been nothing but amazing through the process from the trade moving forward. Just completely bought in on being a spark and being excited about our build and the opportunity that we have to build something special and sustainable down the line here in LA. She is ahead of schedule. It's uncanny, remarkable for someone to have a second child and so recently and be back on the court already. Our timetable in our mind was in the shadow of the All-Star game, and Dearica just blows up those. So, that's my angle on this, Howard, is just complete and full support emotionally, and for her within the Sparks organization through the process, and anything that she needs, we're giving her. But again, another remarkable story for our league of working mothers. Was fortunate to have some working mothers in Connecticut, and now being around Dearica and Katie Lou is expecting. It's remarkable to be on the journey with these mothers.
I appreciate it, Curt. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Howard. We're going to turn to Zoe. Zoe, going to be followed by James. Zoe, you're up.
Okay, hi, how are you guys? My name is Zoe, but my question is, the Sparks are coming off back-to-back years of not making the playoffs for the first time since the franchise's inception. How do you plan on improving the team and maybe using some of those, you're incorporating some of your tactics from, your time with the Suns or from your previous time in LA?
Curt, go ahead.
Rebuilding and building teams at all three of my stops, and teams that have had rich traditions but had fallen on difficult times. Nothing different here. And so what do we lean into is culture creation. And to me, that starts in the locker room. And we wanted to fill our locker room up in this training camp with a competitive camp. We have done that. And maybe most importantly, high character players in that locker room, to really try to create the culture that we are craving to have in LA from day one. And then the mindset that success is defined differently. And our success right now is trying to get better day by day and not getting ahead of ourselves and, talking about playoffs, talking about long-term. We need to win the day. We need to try to be great every day and improve every day. And I'm really excited about this group and the journey we're on. And, we're trying to build something that not only is special, but most importantly for us is sustainable. And when you look at my career, after a couple of building years in Bowling Green, we had 9 20+ win seasons in a row, 8 championships in a row. In Indiana, second year in a rebuild, we tied the school record for most wins in school history. After one rebuilding year in Connecticut, ultimately went to the playoffs 6 straight seasons, with the last 4 in the semifinals or finals. So sustainability of success has been a big part of my journey, and we're not trying to cut corners to have immediate success, but not sustainable.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Zoe. We're going to turn to James. James, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for your time. I actually want to go back to 2015 for a second. Believe that was your first year as an assistant coach with the Sun. Elizabeth Williams was on that team, and since that time, she's kind of turned herself into an elite defensive playmaker. And I'm just kind of curious what you saw from a young Elizabeth Williams that might have indicated some of the success that she would have as, again, an elite defensive playmaker in this league years afterwards.
So I appreciate the question. Just for clarification, I joined the league in 2015 as an assistant in LA, and then in 2016 landed the first head job in Connecticut. And upon my arrival, going into the first season, Elizabeth Williams was traded by our GM at the time. I wasn't the dual hat in Connecticut. So I never physically coached Elizabeth, but obviously been around her throughout her WNBA career and USA basketball. My experience with USA basketball over the last 7 years also included Elizabeth Williams. So, I didn't physically coach her, but she's an elite defender and even a better person. I will tell you that.
Absolutely. My apologies for the misinformation there. So I guess the one more quick follow-up. I just was curious, just as well with after you acquired Ezra Stevens this offseason, signed her. What was your free agent pitch to her as someone that, again, has shown glimpses of being just a really solid contributor on both ends of the floor?
Yeah, I think Azure is in the point of her career to take that next step. And I think, as you saw, probably the most coveted young free agent out on the market this year, and everybody was going after her. And I think everybody, anticipates Azure taking that next step. So a pitch for her was, you haven't played the Batman role yet. You've been more of a supportive cog in very, very talented teams. And are you ready to take on that Batman role alongside of someone like Nneka Ogwumike? And then also the pitch of it's LA, the iconic franchise that it is, being part of building something special from, day one, and having a great role. We're all sales pitches to her. And I think she really enjoyed what she heard about the opportunity to come and play an integral part of this build in LA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, James. We're going to turn to Dom. Dom, you're up. You're going to be followed by Emily. Dom.
Yeah. Good morning, Curt. Nice to see you again. I was wondering if you could, and you've alluded to it a little bit, but if you could reflect a little on your years in Connecticut, kind of what you learned, how you grew as a coach professional during that time, and what went into the decision to go and rebuild another franchise rather than maybe be part of a rebuild in Connecticut.
And one, they're not rebuilding.
Okay.
They are loaded. But I will tell you, first, my whole experience, if I don't have the 6 months as an assistant coach in this league, regardless of my success at the collegiate level, I would not be a successful or current coach in the WNBA. That 6 months under Brian Agler, learning the pro game, was instrumental in allowing me to have success in this league and learning the league. If I would have come directly as a head coach collegiately to the pro game, I would not have been prepared for the difference. The differences are really, really drastic. They are large differences. And so that year was huge for me. I grew a lot in Connecticut, unexpectedly took on the dual role very early on in my career with Connecticut. That dual role really helped me understand even more of the nuances of this league. And that was tremendous for me. I did not seek out to be the GM. I was working with a tremendous GM when I first got to Connecticut. But in that surprise resignation, I had an opportunity to move into that dual role hat. That really helped me grow in this league and understand this league. It accelerated my learning tool, having the dual hat. On the court, I've just grown a ton through my time as a WNBA coach, you don't micromanage this game at this level, where at the collegiate level, you feel more of a micromanager calling play after play after play. You've got to teach your team with a short shot clock how to play out of shapes, and talk about, playing out of different shapes at the offensive end. And then most importantly, I've really leaned into being, elite at the defensive end. And I was blessed with incredible individual defenders that had incredible IQ, and it allowed us to become one of the best defensive teams in the history of the league in Connecticut. And so, I've really leaned into the defensive end of the floor at this level. And that was a big growth area. At the collegiate level, I was known as an offensive coach. At the pro level, I think I'm more regarded as a defensive coach.
I just to follow up on what you said at the very beginning about Connecticut not rebuilding, but being loaded. What do you think it would be the future of that franchise, a unique franchise, in an era where we're talking a lot about super teams in the WNBA? Do you think that there's still a place, a niche for that franchise to be competitive as it runs now?
Once again, I think Connecticut's a contender. I think their roster is as deep as anyone's in the league. I'm sentimental and will always have a special place in my heart for that franchise and those players that we won so many games, and put ourselves in position to chase championships while I was in Connecticut. Those, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Connecticut, but they're still a championship contender.
All right, thank you, Curt.
All right, thank you, Dom. Next up is Emily. Emily, you're going to be followed by Miriam. Emily, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Wanted to ask, Zia Cook will be the youngest player on the roster this year, the only drafted rookie. So just curious on your perspective of kind of what has stood out in her making the WNBA transition, and, how much you sort of see her contributing in year one.
Yeah, her head's spinning right now. I'll be honest. It's totally different for these rookies. You throw a lot at them. We're going into the longest regular season in the history of the league, and you're trying to put a whole brand new system for everybody in a 2.5 week period. So her head's spinning right now, but we love her, competing. She's shown flashes on both sides of the ball. And that's what interested us in the draft, that she potentially could be a two-way player. In the exhibition game, she's guarded Diana Taurasi and Jewel Lloyd. There's your introduction to the league, right? You're a rookie and you're guarding Diana Taurasi and Jewel Lloyd within the first 2 weeks that you're in the league. So, there's these great two guards, like out of the gate, there's going to be Diana Taurasi. Then we played Vegas twice, and it's, Kelsey Plum or, Chelsea Gray, it's sink or swim with these guys, and they just got to keep battling and fighting. I love her attitude. I love her humbleness. She has tremendous gratitude and appreciation for the opportunity. And I think she has a ceiling to get better on both sides of the ball, and we'll be patient with her. And as any rookie in this league, there's going to be some ups and downs, and we've shared that with her. But as long as she keeps a great attitude and strives to get better, it aligns with our what we're trying to do, culture creation, and not put too much pressure on us to be great right away, that we just got to try to get better every day.
Thank you, Emily. Turn next to Miriam. Miriam is going to be followed by Dearica. Miriam, go ahead.
All right. Hey, Coach Miller. All right, almost game time or showtime. So looking forward to it here in LA. Question for you. I mean, all of us on this call know what the 144 means and how incredibly difficult it is to make WNBA rosters. But I've been thinking about how popular the women's college game has become, and obviously the great momentum that brought, and that so many of the stars of the college game, obviously it's really hard to make a WNBA team. How helpful would it be to the league in the long run, as far as developing and cultivating fans, to kind of, if not expand the teams in the league, but extend rosters? And as a coach, like how much would you appreciate having a couple extra roster spots to develop young players like the Monica Suzanas?
Yeah, obviously I'm not going to speak on CBA issues, in terms of what we have as current limitations on roster sizes. What I will echo is this is the hardest professional league, bar none, men, women, in any sport to make the league, bar none. It is incredibly difficult to make this league. And, my message is all of my practices are open, every single one of them. And as I approach the start of my 8th year as a head coach in this league, I have yet to have, and again, I've at, Connecticut's, only near so many colleges now, LA is more, but I've yet to have a potential collegiate player that, has potential to play in the league ever attend a practice. And my message is for these players to truly understand how hard it is to make this league, that I keep encouraging coaches to bring their top players out to our practice to watch it. We do an extensive interview process of draft prospects, and I would say still under 50% of the draft prospects that we talk to admit to following the league. This is a league they want to make, but probably less than 50% of the prospects that we talk to don't follow the league. What I'm trying to get changed narrative-wise is more collegiate players that dream about playing in this league. 1, to follow it, and 2, come out. It's, game day is one thing, but coming out and watching the difficulty or how talented this league is in a practice setting would be very beneficial to this, to the wave of the next generation of potential players in this league.
Do you think that those players coming in, it sort of is a shock to the system to realize like how good it is?
For some, I think, because they don't follow the league, I'm not sure they know the names, but I'm not sure they even know some of the great players' game, and what separates them, like I don't know if players know how NECA plays, how physical, how athletic she is, how smart she is. You don't know if they don't follow the league. So, I'm trying to encourage that.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Miriam. We're going to turn to Dearica. Dearica, you're up.
Hey, Curt, how's it going? I know you are someone who has praised Jasmine Thomas previously as being like a floor general for you, and now she's with you in LA, but coming off an injury. Can you just share a little bit about what her progress is and how much you expect from her this upcoming season? And 2-parter to that is, who, is it NECA or is there someone else that you're looking to this season to truly be your floor general for you in LA?
Yeah, I think, the dynamics around bringing Jasmine to LA, obviously was a captain and a voice for all 7 years while I was in Connecticut, was really important. Jazz is a good leader, even a better person. I mean, just an elite person. We're going to be patient with her, Dearica. This is her first major injury. She is one of the Iron Women of the WNBA. She did not miss games in her career until that devastating knee injury last year. So we're going to be patient. As an older veteran dealing with her first major injury of her career, not only do we want her to be physically ready, but maybe even more importantly, we want her to be mentally ready. So we're going to be patient with her. We're not going to rush her back until we know she's ready. But again, one of the reasons we acquired her is a lot has fallen on the shoulders of NECA in terms of leadership with the Sparks through the recent years. And having another veteran that has a commanding leadership presence, a natural respect around the league, but in her own locker room, Jasmine can take some of that, and not necessarily it's a burden, but some of that weight off of NECA being, the voice day in and day out. So adding veterans, we intentionally added some veterans in our locker room in training camp, to help with the leadership and help with culture creation. So I'm excited to be reacquainted with Jazz. Ultimately, Dearica, we're going to be very patient. We're not putting a timetable that she has to be, back and, when she'll be herself.
Thanks, Curt.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Dearica. We're going to turn to M.A. Vopel. M.A., you're up, and you're going to be followed by Zoe. M.A.
Yeah, good morning, Coach Miller. With Shanae, how good do you think she can be this season? You know, probably as well as anybody that injuries have slowed her down a little bit, but she is still a elite level player. What are you expecting from her this year?
I am knocking on stuff because Shanae looks great right now. I think she looks like the player that was with us in Connecticut when she was an all-star. She's in great shape. She's playing well. You can feel she is such a positive presence around a locker room and around a team. She always seems to be in a good mood. I appreciate that about Shanae. It's going to be important because we look in the mirror. We know who we are this year, to have positivity around our team. So I'm really excited to be reacquainted with Shanae. Obviously she had good years in Connecticut when I was there. So, I'm not putting pressure on her to be an all-star, but I do believe Shanae has a chance to have, a very, very good year.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Thanks, M.A. We're going to turn to Zoe. Zoe, go ahead.
Okay. I know you guys just played a preseason game versus Mercury. And I was just wondering, how do you feel about, the Mercury's being your first opponent after splitting a 4-game series last season?
Yeah, really excited about the season opener, to have an opportunity in this new era to play on national television, play against Brittany Griner in her return, which means so much to all of us and the league. What a great opportunity to showcase, our new era. Exhibition. We didn't see the Phoenix in that exhibition game that we will certainly see Friday night. They got star power. They have an outstanding starting lineup. They have improved their athleticism off the bench. I think they put together a really nice roster. And so it will not be an easy opener for us, but should be an electric crowd in crypto. And it should be a great story for the league. The LA's new era and, Brittany Griner's return, with Diana, as truly one of the GOATs of our league, starting her, a new season. So many storylines in this first great matchup.
Okay. Is there any specific strategies or plans that you guys have put in motion, maybe in the off season, to prepare you for this point?
Yeah. Long days trying to get everything in and, roster gymnastics with everything going on that all of us are dealing with around the league. I mean, it's going to be a new term. Roster gymnastics is happening around the league as we speak.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Zoe, and thank you, Curt. Thanks for joining us and giving us the time, and good luck as we start in a couple of days. Thanks, Curt.
Thanks all.
All right, everybody, if you'll stay with us, we'll be joined in just a few minutes by Las Vegas Aces head coach, Becky Hammon. Stay with us. And we are now joined by Las Vegas Aces head coach, Becky Hammon. Becky, thanks for taking the time to join us. Becky, if you'd like, would you like to make an opening remark, or shall we go directly to question and answer? Becky?
Yeah. Thanks for coming, everybody, this morning. Appreciate you getting up early and jumping on this call. I guess my statement would just be to start with the WNBA investigation. And I would just echo the sentiments of the statement that the Aces put out the other day. I don't recall my relationship with Hamby being anything but on the up and up. And I'm just obviously, along with the organization and everything, disappointed with the findings, but we're looking forward to kind of putting the whole thing behind us and playing good basketball. So I will answer a few questions on the topic, and then at some point I'll move on and we'll talk about basketball.
All right, thank you, Becky. We'll begin with questions. We're going to start with M.A. Vopel. M.A., you'll be followed by Howard. Howard, you'll be followed by Cheryl. M.A.
Yeah, Coach Hammon. I did want to ask in terms of how you, I guess, personally have dealt with this. If you could sort of talk about that, and if you've talked to your team about the whole investigation or their thoughts about it, or if you could share that with us.
Yeah, well, obviously it's not a fun situation at all. It's never have to have your name kind of be associated with something like that, which is not who you are as a person. It's not how I operate. On the other hand, I did talk to my team. They were great. I have to say they've been very professional throughout this whole process. Obviously, I have the support of my organization and my team and my family, but it's never a good feeling to have to, call home and say, leave the TV off for the kids. You always want to protect the people that are closest to me, but this is part of the gig, and so obviously the people that are closest to me, it affects the most. My girls are close with me. So, they've had certain feelings about it. But those are for them to share and not myself.
Thank you.
Thank you, M.A. Next question will go to Howard. Howard, you're going to be followed by Cheryl and then Lindsay. Howard.
Becky, thanks for the time. Just a couple things on that. The ACES statement said that you guys hold yourselves to the highest professional standards, and the facts we presented were consistent with these standards. I'm wondering whether you believe anything that you said or did in conjunction with Dearica Hamby fell short of those standards in your view.
No, I don't. I don't think they fell short. That's not how I recall the conversation going. And there wasn't one player complaint in the last previous 6 months. Nikki Fargas can attest to that. Not one person in her office complaining. There's not one point or statement that was reported to Nikki of anything but quite honestly compliments and how they liked me being their coach. So that's who I am, and anybody that knows me knows how I operate. And so it's unfortunate, that this is trades and stuff are part of the business. They're not fun phone calls for me. Especially, sometimes your greatest strength can be a great weakness. My greatest strength is probably my relationships with my players. So we're a close-knit group. And I know they'll go to fight on the court or in any way. We're a family atmosphere, and that's who we are.
So no regrets and nothing you do different as it relates to Dearica, in other words.
I handled Dearica with care from day one when she told me, and she knows that. And like I said, once I make the phone call that the decision's been made to move her, that's when everything kind of fell apart.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you, Howard. We're going to be followed. The next questions will be in this order: Cheryl, Lindsay, Mark, Ben, and Alex. Cheryl, you're up. Lindsay next. Cheryl.
Hi, Coach. Good morning.
Hi there.
Carter, about the investigation, the league said that it interviewed 33 people and reviewed numerous text, emails, and other documents. Do you know any of the details of that investigation, and did it include any Las Vegas Aces players?
I don't know the details, but I know they did not interview, according to my knowledge, they didn't interview Asia Wilson. They didn't interview Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, not anybody that was on last year's roster. No, they did not interview any of them.
And back to the game on the court, what is it like having Candace Parker and Alicia Clark in your court right now, having those veterans come onto your team as you try to repeat?
Well, it's obviously a huge pickup for us in the offseason. So I'm thrilled to have them on the court, have their mind, have their presence, their professionalism. They're just really enjoyable people to be around. I sincerely love doing what I do and coming to work with these women every day. And so I'm just eager to get them well acclimated into what we're doing. I think they only add to the group. You know, each Candace obviously brings a GOAT status with her and a certain element of savvy and being a veteran and being, you know, always a thinker of the game. And Alicia Clark too, you know, I've just been so impressed with her ability to impact games without ever having a play called for her. She's somebody that knows how to, she's always up on her scouting report. She's constantly talking. I'm thrilled with what Alicia's been given to the group. And especially defensively, she's going to be a big piece for us. She's going to be handed assignments of the biggest dogs in the league. So what she brings to us is obviously special, and she's played with stars all her life. So she knows how to kind of integrate, and that in itself is a skill set to be able to impact games when, you know, rosters are heavily star-studded. And then Kayla George, obviously coming into the group. We loved her, what she did overseas. But at the end of the day, I think everybody's still just trying to find their way, seeing where they fit in. But I love our group. I love our group going forward, and I look forward to putting a really impressive basketball team on the court.
Thank you.
So thank you, Lindsay. You're going to be followed by Mark and then Ben. Lindsay.
Hey, Becky, good morning. Regarding this investigation, you know, there's been a lot of conversations about that there were text messages and there's like proof that Dearica was mistreated. And I wondered, at any point, have you had conversations within the ACES organizations about let's post some screenshots of text messages on social media to prove that, you know, we were on the up and up, as you said?
Well, those are completely false. I never had one bad text between me and Dearica Hamby. Completely false. Or email. First of all, I don't email my players. I talk to them directly. But we do exchange texts, and you know, anything that is less than the up and up, I can tell you is adamantly false and not true from any person in this organization. It's not how we do business. It's not who we are. But I did learn recently that people can screenshot or like, I don't know what, like set up a conversation. They can have their friend text them certain things and frame it and put Coach Hammon or whoever or Nikki Fargas on the top of the screen and just kind of doctor things the way they want to doctor. That's the world we live in. But every one of those accusations are vehemently false.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. You're going to be followed by Mark. Mark, you're up. Ben, you're on deck, followed by Alex.
Yeah, Becky, the statement the Aces put out yesterday, full support of you. What did that mean to you?
It means everything. You know, when you're part of an organization that has invested into you personally, you know, just I'm talking about just me, and has the belief in you. Of course, you never want there to be bumps in the road or any kind of issues. You don't want that for your organization. So I think the thing with Hamby, to me, I mean, it's just, for me, it was just business. But to have Mark Davis, Nikki Fargas behind you, and more importantly, my girls, my team, support me completely. And that's all I need to keep it moving. And, you know, like I said, I'll take my little lump on the chin and keep it moving. We're bigger than this. We're that, like I said, it's just not who the Aces are. It's not who I am. It's not who the Aces organization is. So yeah, everybody's kind of disappointed in the situation, but at the end of the day, we know who we are. And so we go to sleep every night in that truth.
And one other thing, obviously pregnancy in the workplace is a big topic, and I'm sure there'll be some who will use this as an example of why that's still a problem. What would you say?
It wasn't a problem, and it never was why we made the decision to move Hamby. We made the decision to move Hamby because we could get 3 bodies in for her 1 contract, and we wanted to get 3 more people in I think it's very evident who we signed on why we made the move. But it was never an issue, and it was never the reason she was traded. It just wasn't. It came down to math and business. That's all it was. Nothing personal. Hamby, I mean, like I said, I had a great relationship with Hamby the whole time.
All right,
Great,
thank you,
thank
Mark.
you.
Which is why she probably felt the way she did. You know, it feels like a betrayal, but like I said, it's a crappy part of my job. But somebody's got to be the bearer of bad news.
All right, thank you, Mark. Mark, you're going to be followed in order by Ben, Alec, and Chantel, and then we'll get to more. Ben.
Yep. Hey, Becky, thanks for doing this. Just following up on some of the questions earlier, did the league ever specify to you what part of the respect in the workplace policy they said you violated? You know, that's not a public document, so I was just curious if they specifically, if you could share what specifically they said you violated in it.
Me asking about her pregnancy and a private conversation that I was having with Dearica. That's what they said.
All right, Ben, thank you. We'll turn to Alex. Alex, you'll be followed by Chantel and then Andy. Chantel.
Hi,
I'm
Becky.
sorry,
Yeah.
Alex. I'm sorry, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Different type of question, but obviously your name has come up in several NBA coaching searches, and one in particular you've been connected to. Are you actively still in interview processes for any NBA job at this time?
There's a lot of chatter at this point, and I've heard some chatter. But I would not say I'm far in any kind of process with any team. I haven't watched one piece of film on any of them. My complete focus is on the Aces.
All right, thank you, Alex. We'll turn to Chantel. Chantel, you're going to be followed by Andy and Eden. Chantel.
Hi, Becky. Chantel Lowe from the New York Times. I'm responding to what you said earlier about kind of the fake screenshots and doctoring texts. Are you saying that you believe Dearica made up her accusations?
I'm saying I don't believe anybody in our organization sent any nasty texts to Dearica Hamby.
And why do you think that why do you think she was so, because I'm thinking about her Instagram post in January. Did you see that?
I actually haven't seen that Dearica said she received nasty texts from us. I haven't seen that. I think that's completely fabricated by somebody on the outside that doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Okay. As far as what she said people said to her, her Instagram post was very specific about a lot of different comments, though she didn't name anybody in particular. Do you believe that any of that happened? Do you know if anyone's saying anything negative to Dearica about her pregnancy?
No, I don't believe that happened. Although, like I said, when you're dealing with a really tough conversation, I think things can get twisted real quick, but I don't think there was like any cursing or anything derogatory. That's my opinion. Obviously she has a different opinion and she's allowed to have that opinion. But that's not how I saw things go down with my conversation or anybody else's.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Chantel. We're going to turn next to Andy, followed by Eden. Andy.
Hey, Becky. So I believe Tyler will be the interim in Seattle and then Natalie in Los Angeles. I guess what kind of opportunity is this for them, and what do you kind of hope to see from them in this little 2-game stretch?
No, I mean, in a way, I'm kind of excited for them. I think they're both exceptional assistants. They've been great. I completely trust the work that they'll do, obviously, in preparing. I'll be in on some of that work, but at the end of the day, it's going to be their voices on those days that our team is going to be hearing. So, I mean, I give them their own teams in practice all the time, so it's going to be kind of fun to see them in that role. But I definitely wanted to give both of them an opportunity sitting in that big chair. It's different, and so I'm excited for them. Obviously, I wish I could be there, and not real fond of the circumstances, but we move forward and we make the best out of what we've been given.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Andy. Eden, you're up. You're going to be followed by Nick. Eden.
Hi, Becky. Just going off something you said earlier, you mentioned that no one on the current roster had been interviewed in the investigation. Were you told who was interviewed or who was talked to, or how did you know that?
I know that because none of the girls told me they were interviewed or even asked to be interviewed. I think the only player that I know of that they interviewed was Elizabeth Cambage. After that, nobody on that current roster that I know of was interviewed. And like I said, Asia Wilson, all those I know for sure were not interviewed.
All right, thank you. We'll go to Nick. Nick, you're going to be followed by Miles. Nick.
Good morning, Coach Hammond. Just from your standpoint, with everything going on with the investigation and the ruling that was handed down, how are you able to process that mentally and be able to make sure that your team remains focused and not pay attention to what's going on outside of them as they prepare for the upcoming season?
Well, for me, I mean, this is a situation where I stand by who we are, what we are, which is a family around here. And so it's really, I use the analogy of being a parent with them. But you band together in hard times, and you can either let things be a distraction or tear you apart, or you can make choices to come together. And me and the group and the organization have made choices to intentionally come together. And we can always turn something that maybe is perceived as negative or whatever it might be into something positive. So we'll use it to be better on the court. And at the end of the day, that's the kind of competitors and that's the kind of people I have in that locker room.
To have the support of, like you said, the organization from Mark Davis to Nikki Fargas on down, how much does that help you be able to adjust to, obviously, with the punishment that came down, and be able to when your 2-game suspension is up, you're able to focus on the season and not have to worry about what's already transpired?
Well, I look forward to just getting off this phone call with y'all. And moving on and playing some basketball. But their support, obviously, when you have cracks in your foundation, it comes out eventually. And I think the fact that our foundation is so solid within the organization, from the support of, I would say, kind of the 4 leadership pillars of an organization, that when the storm comes and things start to get hectic and look like they're a little bit, you stay steadfast, you stay firm in who you are and the truth. And you go on that and you build on that. And we were built for tough times. This team was built for tough times. And yeah, this is an off-court thing. But the resiliency, the toughness is still always there in any circumstance. And it translates. Things that we learn in basketball translates to real life.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Thanks, Nick. Miles, you're up. Miles, go ahead.
Hey, Becky, I know you said you're not far along in the process with NBA teams, but if things did start to get close, what would be some of your considerations in making that decision? And how do you balance sort of being the coach of a championship team in the W versus making history in the NBA?
I mean, just the timing of everything, I really have not put any kind of focus or energy into that. It's been about the Aces, and I think I kind of alluded to that, like, if it happens, it happens. If somebody wants me, you can come tell me, you know where to find me. But my energies and focus are in the Las Vegas Aces, 100%. So I'm on the phone with my agent a lot. But as I've told Tatum, I am super, super happy here. I love working here. I love working for Mark Davis. And more importantly, I love my team. I really love my team and how, just like their presence, like who they are as people, they're good human beings.
All right, we have time for just a few more. We're going to go to Lindsay and Willie. Lindsay, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much, Coach. I just want to clarify something from before. You said that you were told the suspension was just because you asked about the pregnancy in a conversation with Dearica. And are you saying that you did ask about the pregnancy?
I did ask about the pregnancy. That is true.
Okay. And they're saying that merely asking was a violation of the rules.
I guess you'd have to ask for their interpretation. But yeah, that's what, from my understanding, was my misstep, if you will.
Gotcha. And obviously, you know, WNBA is a progressive league with a lot of progressive fans. You know, what would your message be to those fans who might be a little conflicted or, you know, having a hard time with this news right now?
Well, I'm having a hard time too. I mean, it's normal. Like I said, I think anybody who's worked with me or knows me, it's not who I am. And let me just say this, whatever Dearica deemed as painful or whatever, you know, I'm not validating her feelings. And I'm sorry that they were hurt, you know. My job is to have tough conversations. But I still have to do a job, and I have to do a job. My job is to make the Aces better every year. And sometimes that's a hard process. So as much as I could sit there and say, like, that's not how I deemed the conversation going, she deemed it another way. And for that, I do feel bad, because I'm not the person. I don't feel good in inflicting pain or stress on anybody. Never, like, it's just not in me. It's not my heart.
I guess finally, in your opinion, how should the league support mothers and pregnant people? And is there a way you think going forward and then the new CBA and the league that could be improved for all parties?
I think there definitely has to be some changes, some structure put in place. Because right now that it's very gray. The law, what was it called? An article, whatever, that they have, the rule that they have regarding pregnant players and how that looks within an organization. And I think for us as an organization, this decision had everything to do with freeing up money to sign free agents. That's all this was. Pregnant or not pregnant, this trade had to happen for the Las Vegas Aces to get better.
Thank you. Next up is Willie. Willie, go ahead.
Good morning, Becky.
Hey there.
I don't know from before the Aces got to Las Vegas, and obviously not covering the league, how much sort of a controversial storyline or storylines things have elevated. But obviously in the NBA, we hear different things all the time, and you spent time there. Your experiences in the NBA and seeing ongoing things, and even having Pop as a mentor, has that sort of helped this situation for you getting through it? Have you reached back to those experiences? And I'm just curious if maybe you had some conversations with Pop along the way, just to sort of vent and get something back from your mentor.
I haven't spoke with Pop. I did text him congratulations on the number, getting the #1 pick the other night. Super happy for them and their organization. But I've been through some stuff like this before. I mean, I go back specifically, you know, to the Olympics, where people get on and say nasty things, things that are untrue. And at the end of the day, you always have to ask yourself, is what they're saying true? And if it is, you need to do some self-reflection. But if it isn't, I'm of the mindset of when someone hands you a pile of crap, you just drop it and keep it moving, because the more you play with it in your head or talk about it, the more you get on you. And so I'm not interested in getting into the minutia or the weeds on all of this. I've been through it. Probably most importantly, my family's been through it. And that's the hardest piece for me, is obviously the people closest to me feel it. You know, I'm someone's daughter too, a sister, friend. So people that really love and care about you feel that. And that to me is probably the crappier part of the whole scenario.
And then final question about the team itself. I didn't really have a chance to have a long sit down with you the other day, media day. Obviously, we know what Asia brings, and Kelsey and Chelsea and your stars and your newcomers, but who's impressed you the most in terms of like a sleeper player? Because the benches, the depth that you have now, who has stood out in terms of who's going to be a reserve that, wow, they've opened your eyes?
I think KB, Kristen Bell, has put a lot of work in the offseason. I thought she had a very, very solid camp. She's got a year under her belt. She's a player that we've invested hundreds and hundreds of hours in developing her game, and she's put in the work. And I think I've seen a lot of growth with her as a pro, and as a person. And so I've been impressed with how she's played. I mean, she comes into she's just not afraid of the moment, man. She's just a baller. She comes in the other day, has 10 points in 14 minutes, and plays the right way. And ultimately, I want people who are bought into the system and play the right way. And she made a lot of really great decisions the other day. But I think Alicia Clark and how she's going to defend and help us on that side of the ball, it's an area that I really wanted to improve on in the offseason. So I look forward she brings Candace Parker as Candace Parker. I don't really worry about her figuring it out. And then, like I said, Kayla George is kind of a big that can really pass the ball, very savvy, very smart, and has range. So, I like shooting, Willie.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it. And I'm glad it was KB was the answer, because that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
All right, everybody. All right, thank you very much, Coach, for joining us. Appreciate your time. Good luck when we get started on Friday. Just a reminder to our media, our next calls today will be at 1 p.m. with Coach Stephanie White, 1:30 p.m. with Coach Noelle Quinn, 2:30.
In good spirits. We're hopeful. She's in a day-to-day situation right now, but we're not seeing it as long-term. So we're playing it day-to-day right now.
And then another injury, Shea Petty, do you see her being available on Friday, or is she going to be out a little bit longer than expected?
I think not necessarily longer than expected. She's still within her return protocol. I don't anticipate seeing her on Friday, but it will be very soon, very soon.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Jesse, we're going to turn to Cheryl. Cheryl, you're going to be followed by Howard, Lindsay, and Richard. Cheryl.
Good morning, Coach. Recently, there's an article about Skylar Diggins-Smith in Essence Magazine detailing, her having her second child, but no details about her status with the team. What is her status? She's still listed on the roster, and what are you expecting? With her status with the team? Is she going to be playing, or is she still with the team? Will she be traded? What's in her contract?
So Skylar's under contract to the Mercury. And within the WNBA, she has great support for her maternity leave. So she's currently still on leave from our team. And that's we want to honor that leave and respect her and her family. And so our status right now is honoring her maternity leave, and she is still under contract to the Mercury.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Cheryl. Howard, you're up. You're going to be followed by Lindsay and Richard. Howard.
Coach, great to see you. Appreciate your time always. My two are kind of piggybacking on those and really how you kind of navigate it, right? With Shea, I'm wondering, is there a plan to have her back by the All-Star break? Is it much sooner than that? How you navigate and plan the team for the season around it. And then really with Skylar, the same question, right? There's this unknown about when she's coming. Is the All-Star break something that is reasonable to expect her back, and how you're planning with Skylar as well? If you could take me through your thinking on both of those would be great.
Yeah, sure. So I think with Shea, she's been in market rehabbing her whole time, and we're hopeful to have her soon. It's challenging the WNBA. We have 12 roster slots, but really if you pay your players, you have 11. And if you have somebody injured, you have 10. And that's really hard and sustainable, especially just for any team. We went through it last year. We had Kia Nurse out all year. And I think the year before Phoenix had Bria Hartley. We don't want to be in a situation like that again. And Shea's not in that position. Shea will be back with us in the near future, and we'll have her back with us. As for Sky, she's on her maternity leave. And so we're really just trying to respect that, her space, her family, what she needs. I'm a mother of 3, and I know you need that time to bond with your family and just have that special time. So we're waiting on that. We will get a replacement player for Skylar for her pregnancy. Challenging for that is that we don't get to replace to her salary level. So she doesn't hold that same. It's kind of strange to me that she doesn't hold the value of her salary. Again, I mean, we pay her full salary, but we don't get that. We get a minimum veteran player replacement. We're pros at that because we got that for BG last year. So a similar situation. So we have a lot of experience with that.
But you have to plan as if she's not here this season, in other words, right?
I think and I think what we do is we're day to day and just trying to move forward with what we have available and just have the best player on our team. I mean, we had to make some tough cuts yesterday, but I do feel like we upgraded our roster with the cuts. And that was a tough day, you know.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We're going to turn next to Lindsay. Lindsay, you'll be followed in order by Richard, Miriam, and Annie. Lindsay.
Hey, Vanessa. Obviously you haven't coached BG yet, but you follow women's basketball really closely. You always have. So I was curious, in the past, BG has talked about feeling like because she's one of the biggest players in the league, officials don't protect her. Players are extremely physical with her. Things have gotten ugly sometimes. And I just wondered, now she's back. She hadn't played in a year, just in a little bit of preseason. What have you seen in terms of our defenses being even more physical with her, less physical? What's it like in practice? How are you going to make sure that she is, again, like, protected?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that those players that are larger in stature get beat up a lot. I just think that's just the nature of it. That's at every level of basketball. And BG's no exception to that for her history in the league. So far, we've seen a little bit of maybe some poker from other teams. You know, we're playing we played the Sparks, but we're also playing them in our first game. So maybe haven't quite seen the coverage we would expect. BG demands a double, regardless of how long she's been off. And that creates a lot of physicality for her. You know, I'm hopeful that with the emphasis to freedom of movement this year, that her movement will be made more free, and that she'll be able to move about a little bit better than she has in the past. And, you know, if there's any year that any player should get a call, this is the year that BG maybe should shoot the most free throws in her career. I'm not saying now that's probably going to go against it, but you know, I think that she's going to be ready for that. And yeah, she's been challenged in the past. A couple players that match her in size have retired or aren't playing, with Liz and Sylvia. So there's less where she's going to have an equal sized opponent. So I assume there's going to be more poking and such.
And what has it been like in practice in terms of her level of physicality? You know, she's been open about she's not totally back to herself yet, but when you watch her again, I know you watched her a ton before you coached her. Does she look like herself? Like, I mean, when she, at the end of the 2021 season, she was arguably the best player in the league at that point. I know she wasn't the MVP, but she could have been.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to get to coach her. And I think when you're scouting her, it's a different look than when you're in the gym, seeing what she can do. Her physical size is just much more impressive. You know, I was in Vegas with Liz Cambage, but BG takes up more space in terms of with her length and her ability to be disruptive defensively as well. You know, she puts her arms out and all of a sudden our defense looks great. So, you know, that's been amazing. In terms of knowing where she is, you know, I think it's a question of just conditioning, game conditioning. You know, BG is a player that's played year round since, I mean, has she ever taken an off season off before this last year when she wasn't able to play? And so that's a lot of just repetition and reps that it's going to take her a minute to get used to. But I think in terms of going up and down the court, she's been getting better every day.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Lindsay, we're going to turn to Richard. Richard will be followed by Miriam and Annie and others after that. Richard.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you doing this, Coach. Two media-centric questions for you. The interest in BG season obviously will go well beyond the people who normally cover the league. How do you want to navigate media requests and demands for her time this year?
Yeah, I think that's tricky. You know, this is a person who has gone through something extremely traumatic as well. So we need to support her physical return, but also her mental return to the game. We all experienced the amount of media that we'd seen as a team last year, which was a lot of this outside media that we don't typically get in women's basketball. BG didn't experience that. So she's not probably, I keep telling her, I go, you're not, when we go to a city and it's our first game there, that's going to be a BG game, just like it was for us last year. And this year it'll be filled with joy. And we know our W fans are going to be excited to see her wherever we go. And so that's going to be great. But I think just controlling her availability and then using the rest of our staff, myself included, to kind of take a little bit of that pressure off of her. You know, there's parts of it she can't say too much. There's a book deal, y'all. It's gonna be a great movie. We can't ruin it. So I think that BG is gonna be available. She's great with the media, but we're just gonna make sure that that doesn't become overwhelming with all the other things that are gonna be big for her. But I can't imagine that the media is a positive. All the media is a positive, and you even heard BG in her first press conference pushing to say, "Hey, it's so great that you're here to cover women's basketball, not making it about her." And bring her family's home campaign as well that BG's pushing. And so it's just great to have more people knowing who we are.
And then the second one is how have you gotten a sense as to what ESPN would like to do on Friday? Have the Mercury gotten any specific requests because it's her first regular season game? And again, because I would think a lot of people maybe who don't always watch the sport may tune in because of her.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a big game, and I know for our home opener, they're doing their studio show, which they haven't done, like a college game day situation before our game. So that's going to be great. They've done some pre-prep stuff with our team that we don't typically get in the WNBA, the backstory stuff, which I think really engages fans. So I'm excited to see that. And they're committed to covering it. So other than that, I haven't really heard anything, but I've got my nose down, focused, prepping us for the game.
Thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Rachel. We're going to turn to Miriam and then Annie. Miriam.
Hey there, Coach Nygaard. You mentioned roster crunch in terms of injuries and obviously cuts. I wanted to ask you, so my introduction to the WNBA came because I was a huge fan of like Stanford women's basketball and Jamila Wideman in particular. And without Jamila, I don't know if I would have found the WNBA. Sure. Yeah. So and obviously after that, I was invested in the league. Here I am, still covering it. But I wonder, with the increasing growth of the women's game, and obviously how hard it is to make a roster. How meaningful would it be to the league to have maybe a couple extra roster spots to kind of keep and develop some of these younger college stars?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be great. I played in the league before all the players on my team were born, except for D. And we had 16 teams. And even my first couple of years when it was NBA owned, we had developmental spots on the teams too. All of this is part of the collective bargaining agreement though. So it's, that's the thing, is that these things are bargained among the teams of how many players are available and salaries and those things. Additional players would make it definitely easier for coaches, would be great for development of the team. And those limitations are a real thing. The good thing is that if you love it and you really want to play, there's plenty of opportunities in countries all over the world to get that experience. And we're now at a point, I think so many of the players, I don't know how many players that were drafted will be cut before our first games. But if you want to make it in the WNBA, you basically got to say, okay, I'm going to give these 3 or 4 years to playing overseas and developing my game in the current state, that commitment. And I think what ends up happening is that our product's better because we're getting the most absolutely committed athletes in the world because they're willing to go all over the world just to get an opportunity. So it's tough. But I think there's plenty of players that are available and willing to do this. It's just about finding those right spaces. And I do believe our WNBA leadership is working hard to expand. And when we do expand, I think it'll be a big difference because when we're only in 12 cities, it's hard to see it. Yeah, it's hard to see it. I'll tell Jamila, you said hello. I see her in New York. She works for the NBA.
Yeah, I know. But do you think that maybe it hurts fan interest? Like if fans have like been invested in these players for 4 years or 3 years, or for the NCAA tournament, and then for them to like disappear into overseas for a few years, could that like kind of dampen the attachment?
Yeah, I think when you find the WNBA and you get a passion for it and you see it, then you love it. But if you can't get to a game live or you don't have access to see it as much as you can, then it's hard to follow it, right? I was asking somebody the other day, like, how many hours, the majority of WNBA or American population is 2 hours from a WNBA team. With the NBA, there's 30 teams. And so if there's only 12 cities, how many people actually get to see the W in person? Here, I'll tell you, here in Phoenix, our W fan base is very healthy. I mean, people recognize me on the street. That's not a common occurrence for anybody in the WNBA. And they have a great fan base, but it's been entrenched here. It's been here for 27 years, and it's part of the fabric of this community, which is a basketball city. And if we had a team in Sacramento for 25 years, or we had a team in, I don't know, any other city in the world, Portland, where I played, and we had a great fan base, the growth of the game would be there. It's about finding great owners that want to support women's sports.
All right, thank you, Miriam. We're going to turn to Annie, Alexa, Alex, and Willie. Annie, you're up.
Hey, Vanessa.
Hey, Annie.
I have a two-part question. One, because BG is back and really kind of a new team, you've got some new players and so forth. Talk about how the offense is going to change.
Yeah, I think with BG back, obviously I would be a complete dummy not to get BG some touches on the block. And we didn't really have those options last year within our roster of players. And so, you know, we'll get some things running through BG. She creates a lot of space, but we're building off what we did last year by stretching the court, getting more shooters out there. And I think that's going to really help create space for BG as well. So I think you'll see a hybrid of a combination of things. And, you know, there's some things that BG's just familiar with that she's done for a long time. And maybe a little bit of a cheat code is to put in some things that she really knows and is familiar with, so she doesn't have to learn everything new. So I think it's a combo of both.
Well, and you talk about stretching the court. Talk about your soon to be 40-year-old, one of the greatest players to play this game, Diana Taurasi. And as much as BG is back and everybody's talking about her, nobody's talking about Diana. And just really the quality of her game, that she just seems to get better with like fine wine.
Yeah. Annie, she's gonna be 41, but don't say anything
sorry.
this year. But Dee's been great. You know, she lives here in Phoenix. She lives just a couple miles here from where our practice facility is. And she's been in this gym working every day for months and months and months since our season's been over to prepare for this season. And, you know, her commitment to work, I would consider, when you look at somebody, she's a master of her craft. And when you think of a person who's a master of craft, it's mainly to do with their work ethic. And Dee has mastered the idea of what the work is that you need to put in. And that's great role modeling for every player on this team to see the sacrifices, the dedication, and the work that she puts in. And for me, it's very motivating as a coach, is that, you know, she can't have any player working harder than me. And so I've got to meet her at that level. And, you know, I think she looks great. Anybody who's seen her a little bit in our preseason, she is extremely motivated, extremely happy to have BG back. The joy in our gym is a real thing. And I think that Dee's going to have one of her best years she's had in a long time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Annie. We're going to turn to Alexa, followed by Alex. Alexa.
Hi, Vanessa. Hope you're doing well. I have another BG question, just because I know you weren't able to coach her before she obviously got back, but she's known as someone who is really a great connector of people and is able to bring people together, like despite different personalities or different backgrounds. And I'm just curious how you've seen that so far and being able to spend more time with her day to day. I'll bet, I know, obviously she's still getting acclimated to everything, but how have you seen just how she's able to do that with her teammates and everyone on and off the court?
Yeah, I mean, she's a real joyful person, and she's a real inclusive person. You know, she'll grab anybody and be, hey, why don't you want to come do this with us, or come over here, and just curious about others. And it's just, sometimes you got to step back and think about where she was 1 year ago. And the idea that she comes into our gym every day with just a smile on her face, and it's not every day is perfect. But she has a great job of connecting people. She also has a great ability to cut through tension with a laugh or a joke or something. And we probably could have used that last year. So she's just been great. And I just think she loves people. And, you know, she's seen a lot of adversity. And she's seen a lot of people that don't like her for her differences. And so I think she lives a life, she models about including kindness and acceptance of everyone for who they are, and is really a fantastic role model. And it's just been a pleasure to work with her so far.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you, Alexa. We're going to turn to Alex, followed by Willie. Alex, you're up.
Hi, Vanessa. Great to speak with you again. I know you've answered a couple of questions about Skylar, but I just wanted a couple of quick clarifying ones. First, do you at any point this season expect Skylar to play for the Mercury?
So she's currently on leave, and we're honoring that. Those questions are probably better suited for our GM, Jim Pittman. But we just want to make sure that we're respectful and we're not pressing in any way, and that really it's all support at this point.
And I know you just kind of made a little mention about where you missed BG last year. There was a recent kind of ESPN article about Diana that had a little kind of aside, but asserted that, Skylar didn't really get along with anybody in Phoenix. Is that kind of how you felt last year went with regard to her?
No, I think last year was a stressful situation for everyone within the organization. BG's absence, now that she's back, it's clarifying to feel the tension. There was a situation where it felt bad to smile. Like we couldn't enjoy, we have great jobs. We have a major, like a professional basketball coach. I mean, I wear shorts to work, right? Like this is great. And, I think last year with BG's absence, it created such a level of tension for everybody that I don't put anybody to a position that what happened last year or how people behaved or how things played out had anything to do with that. A lot of times when you're angry about something and something said or whatever, it's not about that thing, it's about something else. And I think the BG thing hung over us in a way that wasn't fair to anybody, and no team's ever had to go through that. And we're so joyful that BG's back. It's just a miracle. I mean, it's straight up like it's a movie, it's a book, all that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Alex. I see some people are re-raising hands, also trying to get to a few folks who have not yet had a chance to get a question in. So we're going to turn to Willie, and if we have time, turn to Stacia. Willie, go ahead.
Hey, B, how are you? It's been a minute since I've seen you here in Vegas. Last time we talked extensively about Sam Thomas. And I know she kind of got a stamp of approval out of college from Diana. DT sort of said, hey, let's take a look. She didn't make the final cut. But with the situation with Skylar and Shea, you may have to turn to someone bringing in because of your familiarity with her. Is there still a possibility that we could see Sam in a Mercury uniform? And then just your thoughts on Essence in her training camp. I mean, it was a long shot, but at least she got a look. Who knows down the road? Just the Vegas kids, curious about them.
Yeah, I mean, Sam was great. That cut was really, really hard. Sam was great for us last year, and she went away this year, played the whole offseason in Italy, which away from her family, I'm sure was a challenge, but she got better. She came back to us better. She had worked on the things that we had talked about when she left after camp, and she improved, but this is just a tough league. She was great in camp as well. And you're right. I mean, we picked up a record, I think 36 7-day contracts last year with a replacement player for BG. And now with the situation with Skylar on maternity leave, we're basically in the same situation. So replacement players could be something that we'll be looking at, and those are conversations we've had. So Sam knows our system. Sam knows what's important to us. She, the thing about Sam is that she makes very few mistakes. And that is a great value for somebody coming into the game. Doesn't force action and does a lot of things that are really, really valuable to our team. So there's a chance we could have her back just because we're so familiar with her, and hopefully she gets an additional shot somewhere else. As for Essence was great. So, I'm pretty close with Lindy LaRock, and who's a fantastic coach. Lindy and I go back a long time, and I had come and seen a couple of their games even when I was still in Vegas. and gone to a couple practices, and Essence always stuck out to me. I saw how great she was. Lindy endorsed her. They run similar stuff to us. You know, we have a lot of coaching conversations. So I had, you know, we'd even shared some stuff across that they ran, and I knew Essence would be able to come in. And knowing her and Lindsay speaking to her commitment to basketball, her love of it, I thought that this is the kind of player that should get an opportunity in the WNBA. And this is the type of player that if she goes overseas and works, as I spoke of earlier, could have a long professional career. She was a joy to have, and she did some good stuff for us. So it was great to have her. And, you know, I think there's transfers all over the place, but these kids who are on these high level mid majors, they deserve opportunities too.
Well, let's keep those relationships with Lindy and Karen White strong so we can get some Vegas kids in the dub. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thank you. We're going to turn to Stacy, and then we'll go to Lindsay. Stacy, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Stacia Whitaker, ATP Sports. My question is, how have your players responded having BG back, knowing that they don't have to play post defense with such a height disadvantage that they did last year? Because I remember Sophie in an interview just talking about getting beat up, and that's, you know, not her position. So how have they responded in a joyful way to be like, sweet, I don't have to be in here anymore?
I mean, yeah, right. Like, I think they're very happy to have BG back, not just, you know, for her to not be in her challenging circumstances in Russia, but just to have that presence where we don't have to necessarily double a ton, right? Because BG can guard a lot of people with her length. We have some rim protection now that we didn't have last year. We got somebody on our team that nobody in the WNBA is going to mess with. And so that I think emboldens some of the other people. But I would challenge Sophie to say she was gotten beaten up. I believe she beat up other people. But, you know, I think that she brings so many elements. Her size and physicality is not replicable. There's not that many players in the league. And she's an Olympian. So you bring an Olympian in and, you know, I think it makes it easier for everybody.
All right.
Thank you, Coach. It's great to see all the joy radiating off of everybody in Phoenix now.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Stacia. We did get a late start by just a couple minutes, so we're going to take two more questions and wrap it up. We're going to turn to Lindsay and then Cheryl. Lindsay.
Hey, Vi, I forgot to ask you something. The other day, Sandy Brondello said in New York that every team is gonna travel with security this year. It's not just gonna be Phoenix. And I wondered, like, is that the case? Are you guys traveling with security? And then did you last year ever? Multiple agents and players have told me that they sometimes don't feel safe walking through, you know, airports. They're very recognizable. Obviously, this is a league that has put a lot of emphasis on activism, and sometimes people don't like that. So can you kind of give us a little information about security, obviously without making anyone unsafe?
Sure. Yes, we do have security here in Phoenix. You know, we're so closely aligned. We're part of the Suns Legacy Partners, and we share a facility with the Suns, and you know, we see firsthand the kind of security that the NBA has, and it was important within our organization. They provide that security for us as well, even before BG's return. And keeping our athletes safe is a priority. So there will be a security presence with us all year. And you know, BG is a divisive political figure at this point, and we're very aware of that. So we have that security, but it's needed in general. I mean, even last year we didn't have security. We have people try to get on our bus at hotels. People meet us at the airport for autographs, and autograph people are fine, but you know, like, yeah. So I think that's an improvement and as much needed. You know, colleges, you know, private high schools, they all have security. Like, I think it's a no-brainer to prevent an incident from happening.
Thank you. When you said that, you know, obviously you played in the W a while ago, but do you recall as a player feeling unsafe ever?
You know, in my 20s, you know, I probably wasn't aware. I don't think so. But I think the world has changed dramatically since then. And I played a lot of at the time, most of the teams I played for were NBA affiliated because that's how the league was set up. And so there was a lot of infrastructure within the affiliation to an NBA team that we don't have across the WNBA anymore. And not that we don't have great owners that aren't NBA affiliated, we do. But I think that extra arena security that already exists. No, I think I'm okay. I was okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Cheryl, if you're still on, I believe your hand was raised, but I don't see it raised now.
I had it raised. Looking at your coaching staff, Coach, you have two former WNBA players with you, including the addition of Tully Bevilacqua for this season, who had our coaching debut over in New Zealand this past year. What is it like to have your former teammate by your side, and what do you expect Tully to bring, especially after coaching overseas and being an analyst in the WNBA for years?
Yeah, I mean, Tully is a great coach. First of all, she was hired because she's a great coach, but she's also, anybody who knows her, Tully is just fun. You know, she's just fun. And so she's just brought, we have a lot of joy in our gym with BG's return, but Tully's addition has been great. She's somebody who always can crack a joke, make a smile, but she's also extremely knowledgeable. Somebody, you know, she played until she was over 40 in the WNBA. And so she has so much playing experience, and I believe playing experience is coaching experience. I'm really excited to have such a great coaching staff, Taja Edwards, Nikki Blue, along with Tully Bevilacqua. It was a really awesome the other day. I think this is kind of unique about us is that, you know, we have 4 women on our staff. We have 3 former players in the league, and all of us are mothers. And so that's really, really cool. So on Mother's Day, the players went around, gave us all hugs. But I think it's a really great environment. And I feel really, really good about the coaching staff that is around me this year. They've already challenged me and made me better and are working so extremely hard. So yeah, I can't talk enough about how great they are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Vanessa. Thanks, Vanessa, for giving us your time today.
Sorry I was late. I was late.
No,
Coaches are not supposed to be late.
No, it's okay. We kept you long just for that reason. You're good. Thank you. Good luck. Good luck on Friday. We'll see you during the season.
Okay,
And for
thank you so
media,
much.
thanks everybody. Rejoin us.